Hey everyone! If you're enjoying these stories and want the full uncensored versions with much hotter exclusive content, be sure to check out my Patreon. There are already over 850 stories available, with new parts released every day. That's almost 1,000 audio story chapters ready to enjoy. You can also submit your own ideas and vote in weekly polls to help decide what stories come next. Poll number 31 is currently active on Patreon, and this story was chosen by Patreon members. All the links are in the description and pinned comment. Subscribe, stay connected, and enjoy the story. The moon hung low over Konoha, painting the red-tiled roofs silver. Most of the village slept. Only the soft rustle of leaves and the distant croak of night frogs broke the silence. On the highest ridge of the Hokage monument, a lone figure sat with his legs dangling over the edge. Naruto Uzumaki. The orange of his jacket was dulled by moonlight, but the 3 whisker marks on his cheeks still stood out sharply. His blue eyes were open, staring at nothing, yet seeing everything. Power thrummed under his skin like a second heartbeat. He could stop the world. And no one would ever know. He smiled, slow and private. Then the night dissolved. She was frozen mid-breath. Hinata Hyuga lay on her back in the soft blue glow of her bedroom lamp, one arm thrown above her head, the other resting lightly on her stomach. Her long dark hair fanned across the pillow like spilled ink. The thin white nightgown she wore had ridden up during sleep, bearing the smooth expanse of one pale thigh all the way to the soft curve of her hip. Naruto stood at the foot of the bed, completely free to move while the rest of the world remained locked in perfect stillness. Even the dust motes, hanging in the lamplight, were motionless. He had already done this once before. Tonight he was bolder. His fingers traced the hem of her nightgown, lifting it higher, centimeter by slow centimeter, until the soft thatch of dark hair between legs was fully revealed. A glistening sheen-coated flower, as if her body had been waiting for him even in sleep. Naruto's breath came a little faster. He climbed onto the mattress, careful not to jostle her frozen form, and settled between her spread thighs. The scent of her clean skin, faint lavender soap filled his lungs. He leaned down and pressed a soft open-mouthed kiss to the inside of her knee. Then higher. Higher still. When his tongue finally dragged a long, slow stripe up the center, her body remained utterly still, but he felt the tiny, involuntary flutter of her inner muscles against his tongue. Unfortunately, the platform doesn't allow me to include those kinds of details. But you can find the full uncensored version on Patreon. For just $4, you'll get access to over 1,000 scorching hot episodes. His tongue circled button once, twice, then he sealed his lips around the small bud, while 2 fingers slowly pressed inside. Was tight, hot, and so wet that the sound of his fingers moving was loud in the silent room. Get the full uncensored version on Patreon, 1000 plus hot episodes for just $4. Naruto's free hand slid up her body, pushing the nightgown higher until both full, soft melons were bare. He pinched one sensitive button lightly while his mouth never left her flower. She would never remember a single second of it. Only the empty, aching satisfaction that would greet her in the morning. And the vision shattered. Naruto blinked. He was back on the roof of the Hokage monument, heart hammering, cock hard and straining against his pants. The teaser had lasted only a few seconds of real time, a flash of the future he already planned. But the memory of it burned. He exhaled slowly and looked down at his hands. 3 days ago, those hands had first touched the forbidden scroll. It had started, as most of Naruto's greatest mistakes and greatest victories did, with curiosity and a complete lack of self-preservation. The restricted archives beneath the Hokage Tower were sealed with enough barriers to stop a small army. Naruto had been sent there on a simple delivery mission for Lady Tsunade, some ancient medical texts she needed for research. The old seals recognized his chakra signature now that he was a jounin, and the heavy iron door had grown open for him without protest. He should have dropped the scrolls and left. Instead he wandered. Row after row of dust-covered shelves stretched into the gloom. Most of the titles were boring. Lineage records, old mission reports, treaties. But one shelf near the back glowed faintly with a residual sealing formula. The scroll lying there was black, bound with a single crimson ribbon, and marked with a symbol he had never seen before, a perfect circle with a single vertical slash through it. Time. Naruto's fingers itched. He told himself he would only look. Just a peek. The moment the ribbon came undone, black ink characters rose from the parchment like smoke and poured straight into his eyes. Knowledge slammed into his mind so hard he staggered. Formulas. Hand seals he had never seen. A technique so absolute that even the second Hokage's flying thunder god looked clumsy by comparison. Perfect temporal stasis. One set of hand seals. A single pulse of chakra shaped exactly the right way. And time itself stopped for everyone and everything except the caster. Duration depended on the user's reserves. For Naruto, with the Nine Tails chakra always humming under his skin, the theoretical limit was measured in hours, not minutes. He stood in the silent archive, breathing hard, and felt the technique settle into his coils like it had always belonged there. He tested it immediately. One rat skittering across the floor. Hand seals. The world stopped. The rat hung in midair, one paw raised. Dust froze. The distant drip of water from a cracked pipe became a perfect, motionless sphere hanging from the ceiling. Naruto walked around the rat, poked it, lifted it, set it back exactly as it had been. He released the technique. The rat continued its run as if nothing had happened. No one came running. No alarms. No sensei appearing to yell at him. He was alone with a power that rewrote reality. That night he practiced until dawn. Freezing and unfreezing. Walking through frozen market stalls. Stopping a leaf mid-fall and watching it hang for 10 full minutes. By the third day he could activate the jutsu with a single half-seal and a thought. And that was when the idea first crawled into his head. He had walked past Hinata's apartment building 100 times. He knew which window was hers. He knew she went to bed early, always left a small lamp on, always wore those soft white nightgowns that looked almost sheer in the right light. He told himself he just wanted to see if the technique worked on people. Just once. Just to look. The next morning felt almost painfully normal. Naruto met Sakura and Sai at the usual training ground for a light spar. Sakura was sharper than usual, her medical chakra humming as she healed a bruise on Sai's shoulder with more force than necessary. "You're distracted," she accused Naruto after he nearly took a training kunai to the face. "Just thinking about a new jutsu," he answered truthfully. Sai tilted his head. "Is it the kind of jutsu that will get us all court-martialed?" "Probably." Sakura rolled her eyes and muttered something about idiot teammates. But there was a fondness under it. For a second Naruto almost felt guilty. Almost. Later he saw Anko leaning against the wall of the barbecue shop, cigarette dangling from her lips, laughing at something one of the genin was saying. Her short skirt rode high on her thighs. The fishnet top left almost nothing to the imagination. And somewhere high in the tower, Tsunade was probably cursing at paperwork, her legendary body draped in that green haori that somehow made her even more intimidating and beautiful at the same time. They were all so perfect. And none of them would ever know. By evening the decision was already made. Naruto waited until the last of the streetlights flickered on. He moved across the rooftops in complete silence, orange jacket traded for a dark cloak that blended with the shadows. Hinata's apartment was on the third floor of a quiet building near the Hyuga compound, close enough for family, far enough for independence. Her window was cracked open for the night breeze. He slipped inside like smoke. The room smelled of lavender and clean linen. Hinata lay exactly as the teaser vision had shown him, on her back, one arm above her head, dark hair spilled across the pillow, white nightgown twisted around her thighs. The soft glow of the bedside lamp painted gold across the gentle rise of her breasts with every slow, sleeping breath. Naruto stood there for a long time just looking. His heart was pounding so hard he was half afraid it would break the freeze once he cast it. Hand seals. A soft pulse of chakra. The world stopped. Even the faint night breeze through the window became a solid wall of air. The clock on the wall froze with its second hand halfway between numbers. Hinata did not move. Did not breathe. Did not know. Naruto's mouth had gone dry. He stepped closer until his knees brushed the edge of the mattress. Up close she was even more beautiful. The thick lashes resting against her cheeks. The soft pink of her parted lips. The delicate purple of the Hyuga mark on her forehead. His hand shook when he reached out and gently brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Sorry, Hinata," he whispered. I need to know." He needed to know what she felt like. What she tasted like. What she looked like when pleasure overtook her body even if her mind never registered it. He started with her feet. The nightgown had ridden high enough that her bare legs were completely exposed. Smooth, pale, toned from years of gentle fist training. He lifted one slender foot and pressed a kiss to the arch. Then higher, ankle, calf, the soft hollow behind her knee. Each kiss was slow, reverent. When he reached the inside of her thigh he paused, breathing her in. The scent of her was already there, faint but unmistakable. Even in sleep her body had reacted to something. Maybe a dream, maybe the residual chakra of the freeze itself. Naruto's hardness throbbed painfully. He pushed the nightgown all the way up to her waist, bearing her completely from the hips down. Soft dark curls covered her, neatly trimmed. Her outer lips were plump and already glistening. "Fuck, look at you!" he breathed. He spread her wider with careful hands, opening her like a flower. Her button peeked out from its hood, small and perfect. Naruto leaned in and dragged the flat of his tongue from the bottom of entrance all the way up to that tiny pearl. The taste exploded across his tongue, sweet, clean, slightly salty. Want the full uncensored 18+ scene? Grab it for just $4 on Patreon. Over 1,000 scorching hot episodes await. A fresh wave of wetness coated chin. Inner walls fluttered. The soft flesh trembled in microscopic vibrations only he could feel because he was the only thing still moving in the world. He slid one finger inside. A second finger joined the first, stretching carefully. He curled them upward. Want the full uncensored 18+ scene? Only $4 on Patreon. Naruto climbed fully onto the bed, then he pushed in. Slow. Her body stretched around him, hot and impossibly tight, even without any conscious resistance. He bottomed out with a broken groan, while she slept through the entire. He stayed still for a long moment, just feeling. Then he began to move. Get the full uncensored version on Patreon. Naruto's free hand slid up body, pushing the nightgown higher until both full, soft melons were bare. He pinched one sensitive button lightly while his mouth never left flour. And she would never remember a single second of it. Only the empty, aching satisfaction that would greet her in the morning. Time resumed. Hinata's chest rose in a sudden, deep breath. A soft, confused little sound escaped her throat. Her thighs pressed together under the covers as residual pleasure still sparked through her nerves. Naruto was already gone, out the window and onto the neighboring roof in the half-second before her eyes fluttered open. He crouched in the shadows and watched. Hinata sat up slowly, one hand pressed between her legs over the nightgown. Her face was flushed dark pink. Her breathing was uneven. She looked down at herself, confused, then touched her own melons as if surprised by how sensitive the buttons still felt. A soft, bewildered whimper left her. She had no memory. Only the empty, aching satisfaction of a body that had been thoroughly used and left dripping. Naruto's heart was still racing as he finally turned and melted into the night. He had done it. And he already knew he would do it again. Tomorrow night. And the night after that. And maybe, not just Hinata. The next morning Hinata arrived at the training grounds looking unusually soft and distracted. Her cheeks held a permanent faint blush. Every time she shifted her weight she pressed her thighs together for half a second, as if chasing a feeling she couldn't name. Sakura noticed. You okay? You look flushed. Hinata's eyes widened. I'm fine. Just strange dreams last night. Very warm. Anko, who had been passing by with a skewer of dango, snorted. Dreams, huh? Must have been good ones. You're walking like you got railed. Hinata turned scarlet and nearly dropped her water bottle. Naruto, standing a few meters away, pretended to stretch while his pulse thundered in his ears. He met Hinata's shy violet eyes for half a second. She looked away, smiling that soft, secret little smile she always reserved for him. She had no idea. And that made it perfect. If you're enjoying the story so far, I'd really appreciate a like, a subscription, and a comment. It really helps the channel grow and motivates me to keep creating more stories. Now, let's get back to the story. Hinata Hyuga woke to the soft gray light of early morning and the deep, insistent throb. For a long moment she simply lay there, eyes half open, staring at the ceiling of her small apartment. Her body felt heavy, warm, used in a way she could not explain. She shifted under the thin sheet and immediately bit her lip. She was soaked. Not just damp. Absolutely drenched. The soft fabric of her nightgown clung to her, and every tiny movement sent a fresh spark through her button. Her melons felt swollen, sensitive buttons tight, and aching against the cloth as if someone had spent a long time playing with them. A soft, confused whimper escaped her throat. What kind of dream was that? She whispered to the empty room. She remembered nothing. No faces. No voices. Only the ghost of pressure inside her, the phantom stretch of something thick filling her completely, and a bone-deep satisfaction that made her cheeks burn with shame. Hinata pressed both hands over her face. Her heart was racing. Her Byakugan almost activated on its own from the sheer embarrassment flooding her system. She carefully sat up. The sheet slid down. She looked at her own body like it belonged to a stranger. The nightgown was twisted high around her waist. There were faint, almost invisible red marks on the soft insides of her thighs, as if something, or someone, had held them open for a long time. A thin trail of dried white fluid had dried on the outside of one thigh. Her face went scarlet. She stumbled to the bathroom on weak legs, locked the door even though she lived alone, and stared at herself in the mirror. Flushed cheeks. Swollen lips. Eyes glassy with leftover pleasure. I must have touched myself. She lied to her own reflection. In my sleep. That's all. But even as she said it, her free hand drifted down. 2 fingers slipped through the mess and sank easily into. She was so open. So sensitive. A single curl of her fingers made her knees buckle and a tiny cry leave her mouth. Naruto watched her from the corner of his eye the entire morning. Hinata was glowing. That soft, shy smile she always wore around him was a little more dazed today. Every time she moved, she pressed her thighs together for half a second, chasing something she couldn't name. When Sakura asked if she was feeling okay, Hinata's entire face turned the color of a ripe tomato. I am fine, she stammered. Just strange dreams. Naruto's sword twitched. He wanted to walk over, pull her close, and whisper exactly what those dreams had been. He wanted to tell her how perfectly her body had clenched around him while she slept. Instead, he forced himself to focus on the spar. Sai noticed his distraction first. Your eyes keep drifting to Hyuga-san, the artist said blandly while dodging a punch. Are you finally going to confess? Or is this another one of your secret jutsu things? Naruto almost choked. Shut up, Sai. Sakura landed a solid kick to his ribs for zoning out. Idiot. If you're going to moon over Hinata, at least do it when we're not training. The words were sharp, but her green eyes held a flicker of something softer. She looked good today, pink hair pulled back in a high ponytail, forehead protector pushed up, the tight red Chipao-style top clinging to her athletic curves. Naruto's mind supplied an image of her frozen the same way Hinata had been. He swallowed hard. After training he made excuses and left early. He needed to plan. Hinata first. Then, maybe Sakura. The hospital was always understaffed at night. Sakura often stayed late finishing reports in the empty break room on the 3rd floor. He knew her schedule. He knew which windows she left cracked for air. Tonight he would visit both. The moon was high when Naruto slipped through Hinata's window for the 2nd time. She was already asleep, lying on her side this time, one knee drawn up, the soft white nightgown riding high enough to show the full curve of one pale ass cheek. Her breathing was deep and even. Hand seals. A soft pulse. Time stopped. The world became his private playground again. Naruto stood over her for a long moment, just drinking her in. Last night had been careful. Almost reverent. Tonight he wanted more. He gently rolled her onto her back. She remained perfectly limp, completely trusting even in frozen stillness. He found the long pale lavender scarf she always wore during the day hanging over a chair. Soft. Strong. Perfect. He used it to loosely bind her wrists together above her head, tying them to the headboard in a simple, elegant knot. Not tight enough to leave marks, just enough to keep her arms out of the way and make the picture even more beautiful. Nightgown pulled over her head and tossed aside. Panties slid down her long legs and discarded. She lay and bound beneath him, pale skin glowing in the lamplight, melons rising and falling in the tiny frozen breaths that still somehow happened. Naruto's hands trembled as he cupped those soft mounds, thumbs brushing over the dark pink buttons until they hardened into tight peaks. You're so fucking pretty like this, he whispered. All mine and you don't even know it. He thrust slowly, watching his knife appear and disappear between her melons, leaving shiny trails across. Then he moved lower. The platform doesn't allow these scenes here. The full uncensored version is on Patreon, over 1,000 hot episodes for just $4. He ate out thoroughly this time, no rush. Long, slow laps. Fingers pumping deep. Only then did he free his sword and push inside in one smooth, deep thrust. NNGH fuck. Want the full uncensored 18+ scene? Only $4 on Patreon. You're going to wake up aching again, he growled against her skin. Walking around all day with nectar inside, wondering why you feel so full and empty at the same time. Want the full uncensored 18+ scene? Only $4 on Patreon. Hinata woke with a soft cry. Her wrists tingled. Her core throbbed. She was soaked again, worse than the morning before. When she pressed her thighs together, thick wetness smeared between them. She sat up, breathing hard, and found the lavender scarf lying neatly on the pillow beside her head. She had no memory of putting it there. 2 hours later, Naruto stood outside the third-floor break room of Konoha Hospital. The hallway was empty. The night shift was thin. Sakura was alone, exactly as he had hoped, slumped over a stack of medical reports at the small table, pink hair falling out of its ponytail, the top buttons of her red shirt undone from the heat. Hand seals. Time stopped. He stepped inside and locked the door behind him for good measure. Sakura remained frozen mid-yawn, one hand holding a pen, the other propping up her cheek. Up close she looked exhausted, and painfully beautiful. The sharp green eyes were half closed. A faint sheen of sweat made her collarbones gleam. Naruto's mouth went dry. This was different from Hinata. Sakura was all fire and sharp edges. Even frozen, she radiated strength. He wanted to see her come apart. He started by carefully removing the pen from her fingers and setting it aside. Then he lifted her out of the chair and laid her on the small couch against the wall, arranging her so she was half reclined, legs slightly spread. He unbuttoned the rest of her shirt slowly, revealing the black sports bra beneath. Her melons were high and firm, smaller than Hinata's but perfectly shaped, athletic. Even frozen, her body reacted. The button hardened further. Naruto groaned. He stripped completely. Sakura Haruno lay on the hospital couch, pink hair fanned out, green eyes staring blankly at the ceiling, legs open. "Look at that," he murmured. "Even you can't fight it." He knelt between. Want the full uncensored 18+ scene? Grab it for just $4 on Patreon. Over 1,000 scorching hot episodes await. He reached between them and rubbed her button roughly, matching the pace of his thrusts. Sakura's body began to shake. Her walls clamped down hard. Naruto cursed and buried himself deep, flooding with thick pulses of nectar. He stayed until he was empty, then carefully pulled out. A heavy stream of honey immediately spilled from well-used flour. He used her own discarded cloth to clean most of it, pushed the rest back inside with 2 fingers, then redressed completely. He even put the pen back in her hand and arranged her in the exact half-asleep posture over the reports. One last look. Then he released the technique and was gone. Want the full uncensored 18+ scene? Only $4 on Patreon. Sakura's head snapped up with a sharp gasp. The pen clattered to the floor. For several seconds she just sat there, heart hammering, thighs pressed tightly together. Her entire lower body was throbbing. She felt full, sticky, used. She stood on shaky legs and walked to the small attached bathroom like she was in a dream. The moment the door locked, she shoved her shorts down. She was soaked. Thick fluid mixed with her own wetness coated her. Her treasures were puffy and flushed. When she touched her button, she almost fell standing up. "What the hell?" she whispered, staring at herself in the mirror. Her reflection looked wrecked, flushed cheeks, swollen lips, eyes glassy with leftover pleasure. She turned on the shower with trembling hands and stepped under the hot spray. Even the water felt too much. Every drop that hit her made her knees weak. She braced one hand against the tiled wall and slipped 2 fingers inside herself. She was so open, so wet, so thoroughly used. A broken moan left her hard against her own hand, forehead pressed to the cool tile, pink hair plastered to her face. No memory. Only the empty, aching satisfaction and the confusing certainty that someone had been inside tonight. Someone who knew exactly how to make her body sing. The next morning both girls arrived at the training grounds looking dazed. Hinata kept pressing her thighs together and blushing every time Naruto looked at her. Sakura was quieter than usual, green eyes distant, one hand occasionally drifting to her lower stomach as if she could still feel something there. Anko took one look at the two of them and cackled. "Damn. Must have been one hell of a full moon last night. You two look like you got railed 6 ways to Sunday." Hinata nearly fainted. Sakura's face went scarlet, but she didn't deny it. Naruto stood a few meters away, heart pounding with dark, secret triumph. 2 down. And the night was still young. The night air in Konoha carried the heavy scent of sake, grilled dango, and cigarette smoke as Naruto moved silently across the rooftops. His heart was racing with a dangerous mixture of excitement and nervousness. He had already visited Hinata twice and Sakura once, but tonight felt different. Anko Mitarashi was not like the others. She was wild, unpredictable, experienced. A special jounin who had survived things that would break most shinobi. Approaching her felt like playing with fire, but that only made the pull stronger. He spotted her apartment window half open, the faint glow of a single lamp inside. She had stumbled home from the usual late-night bar crawl barely 20 minutes earlier. Through the crack he could see her collapse face down onto the messy bed, still fully dressed in her signature mesh top and short skirt. Purple hair splayed wildly across the pillow. One boot was kicked halfway across the room. She muttered something incoherent about, "damn brats," and more sake, before falling silent. Naruto took a deep breath, steadying his hands. This is crazy, he thought. She could wake up somehow. She's too sharp. But I have to know what she feels like. How her body moves when it can't fight back. The power of the time-stop jutsu thrummed in his veins like a second heartbeat, absolute, merciless, and completely secret. No one would ever know. Not even her. Hand seals. A soft, familiar pulse of chakra. The world froze. He rolled her onto her back with careful hands. Anko's eyes were closed, lips slightly parted, chest rising and falling in frozen breaths. The fishnet top clung to her full, heavy melons, the dark buttons already visible through the mesh. Her short skirt had ridden up, revealing the strong, toned thighs of a special jounin. Naruto started with her mouth. He leaned down and kissed her hard, tongue sliding past her lips, tasting the faint sweetness of dango and sake. Even frozen, her tongue responded slightly, warm and wet against his. He supped on it, bit her lower lip, then moved lower. He pushed the mesh top up roughly. They spilled out heavily. Naruto latched onto one. He switched sides, licking and biting, leaving faint red marks that would fade by morning. "Fuck, these tits are perfect," he muttered against her skin. He moved down her body, shoving the skirt up to her waist. Anko's core was already glistening, shaved smooth except for a thin purple landing strip. The lips were plump and dark, already puffy with unconscious arousal. Naruto spread her thighs wide and buried his face. The platform doesn't allow these scenes here. The full uncensored version is on Patreon, over 1,000 hot episodes for just $4. He added 2 thick fingers, curling them hard. Then 3. He stretched, scissored his fingers. Want the full uncensored 18+ scene? Only $4 on Patreon. Anko woke with a violent gasp, bolting upright in bed. Her chest heaved. When she reached down, her fingers came away sticky with thick, warm fluid. "What the actual fuck?" she muttered, voice hoarse from the bar. She stood shakily and stumbled to the mirror. Flushed face, swollen lips, faint fading marks on her breasts. "Did I get blackout drunk and hook up with someone? Or was that the most realistic wet dream in history?" She laughed, but there was a flicker of genuine unease in her eyes. "Either way, damn, I feel good. Too good." She licked her lips, tasting something faintly familiar, and shook her head. Deep down, something told her this wasn't normal. The next morning at the training grounds felt heavier than usual. The sun was bright, birds were singing, but the atmosphere among the girls was thick with unspoken questions. Hinata arrived first, walking with small, careful steps. Every shift of her hips sent sparks through her core. She kept pressing her thighs together, trying to ease the constant, warm fullness she couldn't explain. Why does this keep happening? She thought, cheeks burning. The dreams feel so real. Like someone is actually touching me. Loving me. Using me. But there's no one. I must be going crazy. Or maybe, my body is just reacting to how I feel about Naruto-kun. Sakura joined them shortly after, looking equally distracted. She kept touching her lower stomach absent-mindedly, as if she could still feel deep pressure inside. This is ridiculous, she thought angrily. I'm a medical nin. I should be able to diagnose this. But every morning I wake up sore, wet, satisfied like I've had the best sex of my life, and I remember nothing. It's like my body is betraying me. Anko showed up last, grinning like always, but moving with a slight, uncharacteristic hitch in her step. She dropped onto a log and stretched, wincing slightly. "Alright, brats. What's with the long faces this morning?" Hinata hesitated, then spoke in her soft, stuttering voice. Anko-sensei. Sakura-san, does anyone else feel strange lately? Like really warm, vivid dreams? I wake up and my body feels used. Full. I don't understand it. Sakura's head snapped up. Her green eyes widened. You too? I thought I was losing my mind. Every night for the past few days. I wake up aching in places I shouldn't. Wet. Like someone actually was inside. But there's no memory. No evidence except how my body feels the next day. This time he was gentler, almost reverent. He undressed her slowly, kissing every inch of pale, blushing skin he revealed. He spent long minutes between her thighs, licking her softly and tenderly until she was dripping and trembling. Then he slid inside her in one smooth, deep thrust and fucked her with slow, grinding strokes. He whispered filthy praises against her ear the entire time. "You're such a good girl for me, Hinata. Your core takes me so perfectly every single night. I love how wet you get even when you don't remember." Before finishing, he leaned close and spoke clearly. "Next time I want to hear you moan loudly for me. Don't hold back. Let it out, Hinata. Be loud." He brought her to a long, rolling orgasm, then filled her again. He cleaned her carefully, redressed her, and left with conflicted thoughts swirling in his head. Want the full uncensored 18+ scene? Grab it for just $4 on Patreon. Over 1,000 scorching hot episodes await.